Welcome to week 4 class for group therapy. This is going to be looking at, we looked last week at the early stages of group, and now this week we're going to talk about the later stages of group. This is critical. This is when the group starts to actually function as a therapeutic agent. Group cohesion is a really critical factor in group work. So this is a concept that is going to be explored in depth during this week and in this chapter. We're going to look at how stress can affect group cohesion, as well as how to recognize cohesiveness within a group and ways that we want to facilitate the development of cohesion in groups. So think about the things, the characteristics of an effective group that are listed in your textbook, and apply it to groups that you're working with, or to the ideas that you're learning about in this classroom. So when we think about group work, it's really the agent of change is considered the agent of change in group work is really that cohesiveness. And so when we get to the later stages of group, where they're really cohesive and they're working well together and they're feeling really safe, that's when the work really happens. And that's when you really start to see transformation within the group, and it's pretty powerful. I think group can sometimes be one of those things that's a little intimidating, but when you get going on it and you're really trained in it and you've seen it happen and you've done it long enough, it's fascinating to watch it unfold. So think about the characteristics I think I mentioned of what would lend itself well to cohesiveness in a group. Separation and termination are also concepts that can be really difficult in a group. The concept of consolidation, termination, separation, make sure you're tuning into those concepts as well. When a group really takes on the life of its own and they have really kind of formed into its own little microcosm of a society, it's very difficult when a member leaves or when it's time to close the group, depending on if it's open or closed. But when the group dynamic changes, it can really have an impact, a very strong impact on how that group will function later then. So if someone graduates, let's say, or someone leaves the group or the group closes, this is something that's not to be taken lightly, because it really does change the whole dynamic. And then the stress on the other members, stress on the person leaving, a lot of sadness, feel a sense of loss, grief. And so you see all of that as well. There's post-group issues that you're going to want to look at also when you're talking about termination and when folks are getting ready to be done. And so you can look at that. There's different procedures that folks will do. Sometimes, the groups that I've ran, we've done graduations and we'll do some kind of a celebratory thing. Like I used to order pizza when they were getting ready to graduate, and we would share a lot of feedback and discussion around that person's path in treatment and how they did and kind of where they started off and how far they've come, and give them an opportunity to really talk about the group experience from their standpoint, and then each member had gone around and kind of said their goodbyes and their farewells and well wishes, I guess, for lack of better words. But there's all kinds of ways to close out or to end or to change the dynamic in a group, and so you'll want to be thinking about that. Oftentimes it's really helpful also to do an evaluation, I used to hand something out to just tell them to fill it out in terms of their experience of group and their experience in the therapeutic process, and what was helpful and what wasn't helpful, and what did they feel like really contributed to their ability to make major change that they often did make. And so that's always very helpful to kind of see what their perspective is once they've gotten to the point where they're completed and they no longer have that group any longer. And so there's a lot of grief with that as well. This is a huge loss. Oftentimes I will see clients sabotage their graduation or their readiness for moving on because they're not ready. They get scared, or they aren't sure what they're going to have if they don't have their group. And so again, it's very powerful. And so this week is really focused on that later stage. And so I'm very excited for you to kind of dive into that chapter and really get a gist of what it's like when they are really working. And the research shows that cohesiveness is really kind of the agent that is the therapeutic component. So anyways, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise I will see you online and see you in Canvas.